Do you think they'll come? The voice broke through the early morning stillness, soft yet tinged with uncertainty. It belonged to a young woman named Elena, her hands clutching a clipboard as she glanced nervously at the growing line of people outside the community center. She adjusted her scarf against the crisp air and turned to Marcus, who stood nearby organizing boxes of canned goods. "They'll come," Marcus replied without looking up. His tone was steady, unwavering. "They always do when there's something real on the table." Elena hesitated, glancing over her shoulder at the crowd forming behind them. Families with children bundled in worn coats, elderly couples leaning on canes, and single parents juggling bags and strollers, all waiting patiently for help. The charity drive had been weeks in the making, but now that the day had arrived, doubt crept into Elena's mind like frost on a window pane. "What if it's not enough?" she asked quietly. "What if we've missed something?" Marcus finally looked up, his expression softening. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've done everything we could, and even if we fall short today, we'll figure it out together. That's what this is about, community." His words seemed to calm her, though only slightly. Elena nodded and returned to checking off names on her list, muttering under her breath about logistics. Marcus watched her for a moment before turning back to the task at hand. This wasn't just charity work for him. It was a lifeline he wished someone had thrown him years ago. Growing up in Ridgewood, he'd seen firsthand how easily families could slip through the cracks. Now, as an adult, he refused to let others face the same struggles alone. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the trees, casting golden streaks across the makeshift distribution area, the hum of conversation filled the air. People exchanged greetings, shared stories of hardship and hope, and marveled at the sheer volume of supplies Marcus and his team had gathered. For a brief moment, it felt like the world outside, the one riddled with division and mistrust, didn't exist here. But then came the sound of screeching tires, sharp and sudden, slicing through the peaceful atmosphere like a knife. Heads turned as two police cruisers pulled up abruptly, their flashing lights reflecting harshly off the pavement. The mood shifted instantly, unease rippling through the crowd like a wave. Children clung closer to their parents, and volunteers froze mid-task, unsure of what to expect next. 3 officers stepped out of the vehicles, their movements deliberate and authoritative. One of them, a tall man with a stern jawline, took charge immediately, striding toward Marcus with an air of suspicion. "What's going on here?" he barked, his voice cutting through the uneasy silence. Marcus straightened, meeting the officer's gaze without flinching. "This is a charity event," he explained calmly. "We're distributing food and clothing to families in need." The officer's eyes narrowed as he scanned the scene, taking in the tables, the volunteers, and a line of people stretching down the block. "You got permits for this? Who gave you permission to block off part of the street?" "Yes, I filed all the necessary paperwork weeks ago," Marcus replied, gesturing toward one of the volunteers nearby. "Everything is above board." A folder containing copies of the permits was quickly handed over, but the officer barely glanced at them. Instead, he sneered, his gaze lingering on Marcus in a way that made everyone uneasy. "Looks suspicious to me," he muttered under his breath, loud enough for those closest to hear. "How do we know you're not using this as a front for something else?" Murmurs of protest rose from the crowd, but Marcus raised a hand to silence them. "Officer, I assure you, there's nothing illegal happening here. This is about helping the community. If you'd like, I can show you everything." The second officer chimed in, his tone equally hostile. "Yeah, sure. We've heard that line before. Why don't you step aside so we could take a closer look?" Tension crackled in the air as Marcus complied reluctantly, stepping back while the officers began inspecting the supplies. Their actions were invasive, rifling through boxes and questioning volunteers aggressively. One elderly woman, visibly shaken, tried to explain her role in the event, but the third officer cut her off sharply, accusing her of being evasive. As the minutes ticked by, the mood shifted dramatically. What had started as a joyful gathering morphed into something far darker. Parents ushered children away from the commotion, while others exchanged worried glances. Some began packing up out of fear, unwilling to risk confrontation. Marcus watched helplessly, anger simmering beneath his calm exterior. He couldn't understand why this was happening. Was it because of who he was? Or was it simply an abuse of power cloaked in authority? Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, a fourth car arrived, a sleek black sedan that contrasted sharply with the battered police cruisers. Out stepped the governor, flanked by aides and security personnel. His presence was unexpected, almost surreal. Given the circumstances, the governor surveyed the scene with sharp eyes, taking in the chaos unfolding before him. Without hesitation, he strode directly toward Marcus, bypassing the officers entirely. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice firm yet measured. Marcus blinked in surprise, momentarily caught off guard. "Governor, sir, I'm running a charity event. These officers seem to think there's something wrong, even though I have all the proper documentation." The governor nodded, then turned his attention to the officers. "Is that true?" he asked, his tone carrying an edge of authority that demanded respect. The lead officer stammered slightly, clearly unprepared for this turn of events. "We're just doing our job, Governor, making sure everything is legitimate." "Legitimate," the governor echoed, raising an eyebrow. "Do you see any reason to believe otherwise?" "Because from where I'm standing, this looks like a commendable effort to support the community." The officer faltered, unable to respond immediately. Sensing the shift in dynamics, the governor pressed further. "Let me ask you something. Would you be conducting such a thorough investigation if someone else were leading this event? Someone different?" The question hung heavy in the air, forcing everyone to confront uncomfortable truths. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier bravado fading under scrutiny. Seizing the moment, the governor addressed the crowd. "Folks, I want to apologize for what you've experienced today. No one should feel intimidated or harassed while trying to do good. This man deserves recognition, not suspicion, for his efforts." Applause erupted spontaneously, swelling into cheers as people expressed their support for both Marcus and the governor. For the first time since the officer's arrival, hope began to rekindle. With the situation defused, the governor pulled Marcus aside for a private conversation. "Listen," he said earnestly, "I came here today because I heard about your work. I wanted to see it firsthand and maybe even lend my support. But what I witnessed instead was unacceptable. Those officers will answer for their behavior." Marcus nodded, though skepticism lingered in his expression. "Thank you, Governor. That means a lot. But how do we prevent this from happening again?" The governor smiled faintly, a spark of determination in his eyes. "Change won't happen overnight, but it starts with accountability. Starting today, I'll push for reforms within the department to address these kinds of issues. And I want you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't let anyone discourage you." As the day drew to a close, the charity event resumed with renewed energy. Volunteers worked tirelessly to distribute the remaining supplies, buoyed by the governor's unexpected intervention. News of the incident spread quickly, drawing attention from local media and amplifying Marcus's message of resilience and unity. Weeks later, tangible progress began to emerge. The governor kept his promise, introducing legislation aimed at increasing transparency and accountability within law enforcement. Community forums were organized to foster dialogue between residents and police, creating opportunities for mutual understanding. For Marcus, life returned to a semblance of normalcy, though he remained vigilant. The incident left an indelible mark, reminding him of the challenges faced by marginalized communities. Yet, it also reinforced his resolve to continue making a difference. On the anniversary of the charity event, Marcus hosted another gathering, this time with the governor in attendance as a guest of honor. Together, they unveiled a plaque commemorating the day, not as a reminder of injustice, but as a symbol of hope and perseverance. As Marcus stood before the crowd, addressing supporters old and new, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The journey had been difficult, marked by obstacles he never anticipated. But through courage, solidarity, and unwavering belief in the power of kindness, he proved that even in the face of adversity, light could prevail. And so, the story of Marcus and the governor became legend in Ridgewood, a testament to the enduring strength of humanity and the transformative potential of standing together against injustice.